Hello, my fellow Americans. I was doing a little thinking, watching all the terrible, terrible videos of Democrat criminals in the streets beating up and assaulting and terrorizing people, all because they want to defend illegal aliens who are in this country illegal. It's sheer madness. It's sheer madness. Law enforcement is out there trying to do their duty and enforce the law and arrest people who are in the country illegally. And the Democrats and the left have lost their minds. They are unhinged. They themselves are now criminal. They murder, they assault. I just saw one man get beat almost to death because he was a conservative reporter. There was another man who was beat till he was bleeding because he was carrying an American flag. It's insane. It is absolutely insane. And I don't care what I don't ever want to hear anybody ever say, well, there's good and bad people on both sides. That's pure bullshit. This evil, this hate, this hatred for law enforcement, this willingness to embrace lawlessness, this cheering at three assassination attempts at Trump, the murder of Catholic children in a school, the murder uh, of Charlie Kirk and the girl on the bus, the murder and rape of uncounted girls by illegal aliens, all of this cheered on by the left. No, 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 no. No, it's not going to fly. The bit about, oh, there's good and bad people on both sides of the uniparty. No, sorry, not flying. The evil is on the left. The evil, the sodomites, the transgenders, the sexual deviants, the people who are grooming children in school, the people who murder baby in the womb, the people who will advance murder and mayhem and lawlessness in the streets to advance their nefarious agenda. Those are all Democrats and people on the left. Look, I was looking online at some artwork. I've in my older age, I've sort of come to like alt artwork, and I was very intrigued by this painting that you see behind me. Of course, you can only see a little bit of it. It's actually a big round painting that's in the eye of the rotunda at the U.S. Capitol. It's called the Apotheosis of Washington. It was painted in 11 months near the end of the Civil War for only 40,000 bucks, by the way. That's a pretty good deal. In the central group of the fresco, the artist Brumidi, he depicts George Washington rising to the heavens in glory. I'm pretty sure that's him right there. I think that's it. That's George Washington rising to the heavens in glory, flanked by female figures representing liberty and victory. And then we see over here on the other side, that's Lady Liberty talking to some of the founding fathers. It looks like that's Benjamin Franklin right next to her. Um, but it's interesting that this is in the rotunda of the Capitol because you have so many liars these days saying, "Oh, America is not a Christian country," and indeed the founding fathers were not Christians or godly men. I beg to differ. They may have not been the type, the exact flavor of Christian that many of us were, but they came from Christian England and they believed in the Bible. I mean, they had their own modification ideas, but they essentially were Christian. They certainly invoked God in all their speeches, but I want to I want to I want to say something about that and then about what I see in the news today. You know, America, when I hear the hateful, disgusting things that these moron kids on college campuses say about America, they don't have the slightest clue. They don't have the slightest clue. Look at that. America was born in an age where the entire world was ruled by kings and queens, by czars and generals and emperors and potentates and all kinds of crazy dictators and authoritarians. There was no such thing as a democracy and an election by your peers and a representative government, and you can only spend so long in government, and then there's a transition, an orderly transition of power. Government by the consent of the governed. There was no such thing as that. The founding fathers of America were truly enlightened. And I believe they were enlightened by God. I honestly believe that a divine inspiration had to come over men of their day in a world ruled by kings and emperors, that they should conceive of such an idea of America where the people are in charge and the people get to elect who they want. And if they don't like who they get, they can elect someone else at the next election. Right? And not only that, but the idea of limited government. Right? In an age where the world is ruled by kings and emperors, and it's all about their total power over the nation and the people, these men thought of limited government. And not only that, they said that our rights come from God, not man. Our rights, it is self-evident that our right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, those rights and others come to us from God. God. And the duty of government is to protect those God-given rights. Oh, this is something that Democrats today have no clue about. They don't have the slightest clue. They want to pass all sorts of godless, evil, disgusting laws we'll get into that in a minute. But this is the greatness and the godly inspiration of the United States that, I keep repeating myself, but in that world ruled but nothing but kings, that these men should have such an enlightened idea that the country should be ruled by the people and they get to elect their leaders. And then those leaders can only serve for a limited time, and that your rights come from God, not from other men. And government can't take away those rights. They're supposed to protect those rights. Do you understand the amazing miracle that the United States of America is? And what do you have on college campuses today just saying, oh, America's horrible, America's the worst country in the world? I just wish they would get the fuck out. Get the fuck out and leave room for people who love America. But you see, it doesn't stop there. The story of America goes on. Brave men and women who went into the frontier and grew America. Wonderful men like Daniel Boone and Davy Crockett who lived off the land. And true, they were hunters and they were men of their times, but they loved the land. They didn't abuse the land, right? And the growth of freedom. And sure, of course, were there mistakes made? Yes, yes, yes. Nobody denies that there were some terrible mistakes made, but the beauty of America and the way it was put together is that we were able to overcome and fix those mistakes. Most other countries are never able to do that. They just crumble, like the Roman Empire or something like that. So this godly nation is founded, and then it grows. with wonderful bounty and just beautiful vistas and lands, oceans and mountains created by God for us to enjoy in our freedom. And then the story doesn't end there. America grows and grows, and finally we become a powerful nation in the world, a very powerful nation. And probably one of the biggest event, or at least one of the biggest events in history was in World War II, where the United States, this free country, literally saved the world from imperialist monarchy in Japan and fascism and Nazism in Germany. Literally. Oh, and people want to say, oh, we were just one country out of many. The Russians fought and the British and the French. Yes, it is true. They sacrificed a lot of people. But the fact is, if it weren't for the United States, Hitler would have won. And that is a fact. Okay. Hitler had destroyed, he literally, well, first of all, he conquered France, so they were out of the picture. He literally beat the hell out of England to the point that they could not manufacture weapons. And Russia was having difficulty manufacturing weapons and stuff. So while our forces fought on both fronts, the Pacific front with Japan and in Europe too, but at the same time, our manufacturing colossus was able to arm everybody. We armed and supplied all the armies. We won that war. Have no doubt about it. And be proud of that. Don't just say, oh, be proud of that. Be proud to be an American, a nation founded in the eye of God, knowing that our rights come from God and not men, and the nation that literally saved the world from a dark, evil night of totalitarianism. Of course, then we've gone on to do wonderful things. We've protected and liberated many countries. We've put a man on the moon, and we're done. Just it's a great country. And then I watch the news today, and what do I see? These filthy, sick, degenerate, disgusting. You can't hate these people enough, man. These people who, oh, they may have been born in America, these Democrats and these leftists. They may have been born here, and they may be technically Americans, but they're not Americans in their heart. They're pieces of shit. They're socialists, they're authoritarians, and they love to project onto good patriots like you and me their faults. They love to call Trump and ICE fascists, when in fact it's the Democrats who resemble fascism more than anything. Fascism is the government control of industry and control over people's lives. That's what the Democrats do. Okay? Republicans are all about small, limited government, just like the founding fathers. More liberty, less government. That's our motto. So if fascism, if there's anybody in America who resembles fascism at all or comes close to it, it's the Democrats, not ICE, not Trump, and not Republicans. But these people are out murdering, assaulting, killing, and why? To protect criminals who are in the country illegally that their criminal President Biden allowed in. This Democrat Party, the same party that while this great country was growing and growing, and when we finally corrected, I mentioned to you that we have made mistakes and we one of the terrible mistakes that we corrected was slavery. The first Republican president freed the slaves. And how did the Democrats react? They sent us into a civil war. And when they lost the war, they did what Democrats always do when they lose. They cheated and they got violent. They created the KKK and they terrorized blacks. And then later on, they created Jim Crow laws. Then they had segregations and they were burning. Oh, and you want to say, well, that's the old Democrats, but not today's Democrats? Is that what you want to say? What about all the illegal aliens that the Democrats want to have come in here? Where do you think their kids are going? Those people who work on, a lot of Democrats love to say they're just farmers. Oh, guess what? Illegal aliens were found in huge numbers in California, along with their children, doing work. Do you realize that that is slavery? The Democrats are still the party of slavery, but today their slaves are illegal aliens on farms, almost like indentured service, living on the farms, just like the slaves used to live on the plantations, and their kids are out there working like slave child labor. You think those people have changed? They have not changed. The Democrats lie through their socialist teeth about wanting to care for families and care for children, when in fact they've got children working as slave child laborers on farms, right? Now, those are the children that managed to escape their butcher's knife in the abortion clinics. So from the beginning to end, the Democrats have a war on children. First, they try to kill them in the womb. And then the ones that managed to survive their butcher's knife, they groom them and sexualize them in schools. They get their heads all twisted up. Their parents are taking the kids to church on Sunday, but on Monday through Friday, the kids are learning to be homosexuals and transgenders. Then they don't know what the hell they are when they get out. The Democrats are literally trying to erase what the human race is. And then if the children should manage to survive that ordeal, they go into college and they become nice little communists and socialists, little goose-stepping extremists who will go out and kill police and call me a fascist. I think, as I said at the beginning of this video, of the amazing gift of God that this nation was, and that he should give such a gift of insight to the founding fathers and create the very first nation in the history of the world where we recognize that our rights come from God and not from man. And that this nation should come to this sorry state at the hands of these evil, demonic Democrats and leftists out killing and destroying in the streets. It almost makes me want to weep. There are times when I weep for this nation. Growing up, my dad was in the military, and I used to think how wonderful this country was. I mean, it was a given that America was just special. It's the place to be, man. And now these vermin, and yes, I'm going to use the word vermin because that's what they are. These left-wing Democrat vermin got the nerve to call law enforcement fascists when we fought to destroy the fascists. And fascism, the tenets of fascism exist in the Democrat Party, as I explained earlier. And they have the nerve to go out and bring harm to law enforcement. These are good men and women with families. They're just trying to protect their community, enforce the law. They go home, they have children, they have wives, they have husbands, they celebrate Christmas, and you want to kill them because you don't like the law to be enforced. And again, as I said, what is the law that's being enforced that you hate so much? We're deporting people who are in the country illegally. The insanity. I tell you what, if I was to go back in time, uh, I don't know, 50, 60 years, 70, and I was to write this and I said, this is what's going to happen, I would have been thrown in the insane asylum. Oh, surely you can't mean that. We just beat the Nazis. We're that can't happen in America. By God, it did. And it is right now. And it is all dripping the blood, the mayhem, the cruelty, the violence, the girls raped and murdered by illegal aliens, Charlie Kirk. That blood is all dripping off the hands of Democrats. It's if you vote for a Democrat again, you 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 you're not an American. You have no soul and you have no morals. It's time to wake up. Wake the fuck up. Because you are about to lose the greatest gift other than Jesus, the greatest gift that God ever gave mankind. The very first nation in the history of man that recognized God as the source of their rights and their liberty, and recognized you as the person with the authority to vote for who you want. And these sick rioters and violent Democrats in the streets are throwing it all away. And the saddest thing of all is they're throwing it all away based on a lie. Some of them actually believe that Trump is a fascist. That's the dumbest, stupidest damn thing. It's just beyond stupid. It demonstrates a level of ignorance about what fascism is, and the fact that socialism, which they embrace, is what fascism is. I mean, you do know what the word Nazi stands for, right? In German, it's an acronym that means National Socialist German Workers' Party. Oh, Hitler gave all kinds of speeches about the wonders of socialism. Yeah, the Democrats are the very fascists that they claim to be fighting against. Some of them are doing it on purpose because they want to destroy America. Others are doing it because they're just ignorant, brain-dead morons. And they're violent, and that's a dangerous combination. I ask you, my fellow Americans, to wake up. I mean, wake the fuck up and realizing what is really happening. And when that election comes around in 2026, the midterm elections, you've got to vote for Republicans so that Trump can have the tools he needs to complete his great work that he's done before. And then, of course, in 2028, so that we can continue the great work with maybe someone like Marco Rubio or J.D. Vance, or even the governor of Florida over there. He's pretty good. But that's my message. I look at these videos and I want to weep. I really do. When I think of what America was created, how it came about, truly inspired, an exceptional nation, inspired by God, I am convinced. And now the forces of evil and atheism and sodomy and degeneracy and socialism and communism and hate, sheer hate on the left and in the criminal Democrat Party, the party of the Civil War, the party of the KKK, the party of Jim Crow, the party of segregation. Today, they're the party of child labor and illegal immigrants, the party of lawlessness, the party that grooms and sexualizes your children in schools. They're the enemy. That's all I've got to say. It's all in your hands because it's all coming to a head very, very soon. Choose wisely. Choose wisely because your future and your children's future really depend on it. Have a good day.